What up? What up, what up? Sure my microphone's plugged in. It do appear to be plugged in. Alright, guys. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Get started here in a minute. Officially. Just gonna yap for a second. Plugged and chugged. Chugged sounds kind of wild, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like... You need to go on a piss break? You know what? I got you. Let's put the whole stream on hold 3 minutes. You got 2 minutes and 45 seconds left. Go take that piss. Alright, guys. We're out here saying, fuck copyright. We don't care about no copyright. We play songs. Fuck monetization. For a little while, I was thinking, you know, maybe we should play some non-copyright songs so the algo doesn't cuck us all the time. But today, you know, we just came in here and said, fuck it. I stumbled across that song that we've all heard a billion times in our lives recently, and I just thought, there's no way I don't play that on the stream. It's just too much of a fucking monster. Doesn't matter what type of person you are, it's a banger track. Alright, guys, so we'll get started here right about now. Let's get the screen shown. Alright, you guys, you can see what we're working with. Alright, guys, So we're going to do a fairly standard rundown. We're going to look at TradFi a little bit. We're going to look at Bitcoin macro. We'll work our way down into the lower time frames. If you guys ask good questions, I'm down to talk about intraday. I've been hammering intraday trades recently. It's been really the only thing I've been clicking buttons on. I haven't really done any high time frame trading in a while now. So if you guys, I'm gonna put the burden of responsibility on you. You ask good questions and I will answer them, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to just start leaking the intraday system without you guys putting in your end of the effort, right? Shout out to Coinbase for sponsoring all my content. Really appreciate them for that. And go ahead and show you guys on this really quickly. This will be the final shill on this ever. Throw it in the chat. We're doing the Black Friday discount. Originally, we were only going to run it for a few days, but we just got a lot of people asking us to extend it, and we felt like being nice guys, so we've extended it a little bit longer. It's not going to go forever. You got a maximum of like a week left, right? So once November rolls around, or no, not November, we're at the end of November. Once December rolls around, all the discounts are going to get turned off again. So if you wanted to capitalize on it, if you wanted to hang out with us going into next year, now it's time to save a buck, most definitely. One discussion I wanted to have, which I know most of you guys aren't showing up to this stream to discuss, maybe we'll postpone it to later in the stream when only the real ones are remaining, but I want to talk about brain rot. I think it's a really interesting conversation. All right, so without further ado, it's time to lock in. I'm going to run through really short and sweet on TradFi, and then we will dive into our main focus, which is going to be Bitcoin. If you guys have interest in looking at altcoins, we can do that later in the stream. But generally speaking, I'm not super interested in altcoins right now. It's been, the same kind of argument for me for a long time. If you're interested in altcoins, trading whatever's hot is a great strategy, right? But you're trading it. You're not investing in it. If you want to trade Zcash when it's popping around and doing 50,000 ticks every 10 minutes, you should trade that, right? But I don't have any interest in any higher time frame holds on alts. But we can definitely have a conversation around that when we get there. So without further ado, let's get into some TradFi talk. Okay. So here's where I'm at with TradFi. Going into next year, my plans are I've already started to. I made a new brokerage account under my current business that I'm trading under. So I've set up the brokerage accounts. I funded one of them. I need to fund the other one. And my plans are going into 2026 that I'm going to be actively trading TradFi a lot more. Those of you guys that haven't been around forever probably don't really know this, but I actually started out trading TradFi before I ever traded crypto. I came to crypto for the opportunity. And now that I'm at that point where I've seen, some levels of growth and whatnot, it makes sense for me to return to trade over there. Post 2022, I made the effort to really start to allocate to these assets. And obviously, it wasn't really the best investment, in 2023 and 2024, right? But in 2025, that paid bigly. So yeah, I'm intending to actively trade these. I've been having some conversations with a couple of my boys that have traded for longer than me around what I should go to trade. And I'm kind of torn between whether I want to trade indexes or individual stocks. I think that the edge required to trade the ES, for example, is going to be pretty profound, right? You're not going to go in there with an RSI div and trade trade the ES effectively, right? It's too efficient over there. So I've been doing all the prep work for how I'm going to move over, right? Because obviously, they don't have open interest isn't really a thing in TradFi. Open interest has been a big part of my trading for a long time, so I'm having to adapt a little bit, but you guys can absolutely expect to see some sprinkles of some content with TradFi. As far as analysis goes, same core thesis we're walking with, right? You look at the S&P and you say, thing looks fucking insane. It doesn't matter, you zoom out, you can zoom out for years, you can zoom out for a couple of months, whatever. It's the same picture either way. I wanted to see us trade below 65, and that's as low as we were going to get. I think that the bottom is pretty much in on this, and you're going to see it. You're going to see the S&P and the Nasdaq set all-time highs from here. I'm pretty confident on that. I have the same kind of thesis for how you should approach this from a portfolio standpoint. If you want to allocate to the S&P or something like this, you pray for a 5% dip, right? That's essentially the largest dip you're going to get. Every now and then we get a tariff, dip or a COVID dip, but you should not wait for that shit. Maybe you allocate when that comes. So you get a 5% dip like we just got and you buy it. If you're too much of a pussy to buy here and now we've bounced and you go, okay, well, I think that we're going to trade higher from here. What do I do? Just DCH Ace, right? When if it dips 2% next week, buy it. You don't need to overthink this stuff. So it's more or less what my main thoughts are. I'm starting to want to allocate, I've been saying this for a while now, right? But moving in the direction of allocating more heavily to the NAS over the S&P, right? I don't have exact numbers, but I probably have like 70% more exposure in the S&P compared to the NAS. And as I've been expressing over the past, like month or two, I really want to balance that out more and have more NASDAQ exposure. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If there's any questions around TradFi, let me know. I'm not super interested in calling for dips anymore. I think that you're going to see the NASDAQ at an all-time high in just a matter of probably like a month or two. So probably January or February, the NAS has traded up into fresh highs by then. That's pretty much where I'm at, though. We'll look at metals really quickly. Don't hesitate to ask any questions if you have on TradFi. Otherwise, we'll just move on to crypto here pretty soon. As far as I'm concerned on metals, right, I've been saying this for a while now. The current meta is that metals are going to go up, right? Clearly, there is a new bid that has come into metals in 2025 that hasn't been around for, we've not seen anything like this, right? I've traded forever, right? I've got about 10 years of trading experience. I haven't experienced gold moving the way it is right now in my entire life, basically. So I think that the meta around metals trading higher is 100% going to persist. You're going to see, you're just going to see this move up in a slow and controlled line upwards. So, gold going to 5K next year, totally within reason. I personally don't own any gold, as you guys are tired of hearing me say now. I bet on silver many years ago instead of gold, and it's more or less just a fucking proxy bet for gold. So if gold goes up, silver's probably going to go up slightly more. Pretty retard proof, simple play. If there's any questions around any of the TradFi stuff, let me know. Like I was saying earlier at the beginning of this yap, I am going to be moving into trading TradFi a lot more going into next year, and it's really just a question of am I going to trade indexes or individual stocks. I think where I'm at now is I think from an investment standpoint and like swing trading standpoint, I'm probably going to pick individual stocks. But from an active day trading standpoint, I'm probably just going to trade the major indexes. So if there's any confusion or questions around that, just let me know. I'm going to run through chat for a second really quickly, and then we'll move over to Bitcoin here pretty soon. What's up, guys? What's up? Thanks for the positive shit in the chat. I hate to admit it, I'm here for the TradFi talk. We both know you're not. Pros and cons in terms of trading indexes versus individual stocks. Okay, so the main pro of the indexes is going to be trade volume, activity, liquidity, right? So individual stocks, before I run through this, right, don't take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I'm not pretending to be some expert, right? Most of my trading volume in my life is on Bitcoin, right? So I'm not like gonna LARP as some sort of TradFi expert, even though I started there. I was pretty fucking dumb when I traded TradFi back in the day, if I'm being honest. The main pros for the indexes are going to be liquidity and trade activity, right? Most of the trade volume that is going to be taking place in the stock market day to day is going to be done on the indexes, right? So they're going to be the most liquid. They're going to have the most trade activity, and don't quote me on this, but I imagine they probably also have the lowest fees, right? So they're just going to be the cheapest and best place to operate for quick plays, right? It's the same kind of argument as to why would I say, okay, you want to day trade on the perpetual for Bitcoin, but you don't want to day trade with spot. It's more or less the same kind of argument. You can basically split them into spot versus perp. Like it can be that simple for you. The main pro for individual stocks is going to be growth, right? The volatility on an individual stock is going to be so much higher, right? If the average move on the S&P is 1-2%, the average move on your tech stock is probably going to be triple or quadruple that, right? Like by comparison. So it's about volatility. So if the volatility is higher, but they're less liquid, that means that they're not really, individual stocks are not going to be as great for individual trading unless you're on the higher time frame, right? Which I don't, most of my active trading is low time frame, right? I'm not like, so hopefully that makes sense, right? It's pretty clear. TLDR, Indexes are going to be better for trade activity and liquidity. They're going to be cheaper. But individual stocks are going to provide much larger moves directionally because they're going to be more volatile. So TL, like closing thoughts on that, that's why it makes sense to be investing and doing swing trades on individual stocks, but then day trading on the indexes, right? That's what you're going to get the best of both worlds that way. Indexes also get crazy tax benefits from futures. Speaking of, have you ever traded BTC futures intraday? Parker, can you elaborate on what kind of tax benefits are you talking about from futures? I mean, like it's more cost effective to hedge and play risk management on derivatives instead of like selling spot, if that's what you mean, but I don't think that's what you mean. What up, Static? Have you ever traded BTC futures intraday or not enough liquidity? There's no argument at all for, so in Bitcoin, well, let's go to the Bitcoin chart for this. With Bitcoin, you have spot, perp, fut, right? And option. I don't really trade options, so I'm not going to speak on that too much, right? Spot, long-term speculative investment, right? It's the least liquid. Well, it might be more liquid than futures sometimes, but it's not going to be liquid compared to perp. So this is your long-term speculative. I want to fucking hold Bitcoin for the next 6 years. I'm going to hold hype for the next 2 years, right? You buy spot. Perps are going to be the cheapest, and they're going to be the most liquid. They're going to have the most trade activity. So perps purpose is lower time frame active trading. Futures don't fall into that same category at all because futures are going to be, they're not going to be as liquid as perps. They're going to have way less trade activity. So getting in and out of positions when you're not trading with $3 is a lot more difficult. Like there's a lot more scaling required with futures. So TLDR, right? I'm just going to do acronyms, right? For speculation, for active trading, and then for risk management. That's more, I think options fall into the same category. It could be for speculation. I don't think it really should be for active trading, but it could be, and it could be for risk management as well. So options will cover all of them. But generally speaking, 99% of my futures volume is risk management. It's hedging the stack. It's going long against another short so that I'm delta neutral, whatever, blah, blah. That should cover that explanation, though. Individual stocks or altcoins. There you go. Bitcoin is the S&P. This isn't new. We've taught this for years. Bitcoin is the S&P, and your individual stock is hype or whatever. Favorable 60-40 gains and losses are qualifying U.S. exchange traded futures are taxed using unique 60% long-term, 40% capital gains, regardless of how long it's held. That's interesting. No LARP. I've never had any super substantial trading P&L, trading stock indexes, right? These days I have a lot of unrealized P&L on my ETFs, but that's different than futures, right? My futures trading on TradFi, I've never come on these streams and lie to you guys. I wasn't that good of a trader back then, right? We're talking about 2019, right? This is such a long time ago. I was maybe, that was 2019, 2020. I was starting to get my shit together. I was starting to figure things out, but I was still pretty dumb back then. So I didn't have a lot of wins to account for back then. I was really more or less a break-even trader on futures a lot of the time, at least on the ES. Okay, that makes sense, Parker. Chat doesn't know that the world involves more than the US. Stay mad, buddy. Do you think more of us should move to stonks? I've said this for a long time now, and it was never really met with open arms. I think that all of us should be doing both. So I would basically say that I think the best way to succeed moving forward for most of you guys is going to be placing a lot of your long-term non-speculative investments, right? Your more concrete long-term investments, put that into these boring boomer things, right? You put it into a stock index, you put it into metals, real estate, right? I do genuinely think that that's one of the best approaches. I've been talking with a lot of my friends recently about how I'm going to proceed, right? And I don't think it makes any sense for me to stop trading Bitcoin because I'm so good at it, if I'm being super honest, right? Like, I have strong edges with Bitcoin, so I'm not going to move away from Bitcoin anytime soon. So I think that it's going to be a case by case. All you guys need to answer these questions on your own. But yeah, I mean, some of you guys should consider diversifying. Some of you guys should consider, if you are really confident in your crypto trading ability, then just stick with crypto, right? Should we just be stocks and Bitcoin then? And then those 2 weeks, a couple of months. I mean, yeah, guys. So, look, if you've been in the Paragon for a long time, then you're just tired of hearing me say this, but I'm going to just do it really short and sweet, right? So what did Vindo just say, right? He's like saying, so should you just sit in stocks and Bitcoin and then wait for the few months, a year where altcoins are actually good? Yes, that is the play. Everyone's got different situations, and some of us need to target growth more than others. Some of us are more, for me, it's kind of easy for me to just be, patient and wait. But yeah, I mean, look, if you have the whole timeline, and this is all 12 months out of the year, and you recognize that maybe you get a month or two of altcoins actually going up a lot, like, for the other 10 months that exist in the year, do you want to be sitting in fart coin? Do you want to be sitting in XYZ coin? Like, no, you don't. You want to be sitting in the benchmark assets, which are going to be, boomer assets in Bitcoin, essentially. And then when you have those transitions and there's momentum existent in the market, you just buy altcoins, right? I've taught that lesson as long as I can remember now. And this really would have saved a lot of the CT people from this absolute despair that they've endured recently. So hopefully that's pretty clear, right? You want to be separate your entire port into, like, your investments, right? Maybe your active trading, and then maybe your gambling, right? You want to divide these things up, and guess what needs to be the majority of your situation most of the time? Maybe you say, okay, I have 90% of my money in investment, but okay, the market's looking like it's going to get hot. Maybe I move some of my investment into active trading. This is normally only 10% of my money. Maybe I'm going to bump it up to 20% and actively trade the fuck out of it, right? You need to be dynamic in this stuff. I have so many threads and so many videos and stuff that have explained that over the years. Your risk parameters, like, if this is your whole port, 100% of it, you need to ask yourself, do I always need to be 100% long? Or what if I'm only 80% long with my whole port, right? Like, all these things can be shifted around. And the only real thing that you want to keep in mind when you're doing that is you want to try to not create an enormous amount of taxable events. That's the only reason why rotation is not going to be good, is because it's going to create more taxes. Makes sense to swing stocks because crypto doesn't move for 9 months. If you're active in stocks, you're less likely to overtrade. To each their own. I don't have an issue with overtrading in crypto. I'm perfectly fine sitting and waiting and watching for a long time, but that's fair, right? This year in particular, the momentum has been a lot stronger in individual stocks over any sort of crypto stuff. We can sit there and talk about why that is the case, but it doesn't really do us any good. I think that whenever you want to figure something out, you should always ask yourself if it's going to help you make money or not. Later, can you look at Bitcoin dominance chart? I mean, I don't care about that kind of stuff, but we can. I'll do it right now really quickly. I don't even know if I have it on here. Okay, so this is like the first time in a while. I mean, there's an actual breakdown in BTC dominance. This is kind of crazy. I don't really pay that much attention to this kind of stuff, but realistically, this looks like, you're talking about some sort of bull div or whatever, right? Like, doing divergence, doing TA or anything on something like this. Like, this is not a market. There's no order book for Bitcoin dominance. So that's why I believe like doing TA on a lot of these kind of charts is pretty retarded in my opinion. You just look at the information it's giving you, the relentless trend, you know, in BTC Dom from the start of the 2023 trend until the top in 2025, right? I mean, clearly there's something happening here. I am, for the record, not about to sprint into buying alts because we see this by any means, but maybe it means that you want to, you know, it piques your interest in some regard. Alts are basically kind of dead this cycle, kind of proved it. I mean, no shit, you know what I mean? Like, this is obvious, right? I hate to say this stuff, but I mean, I've been saying that for years, right? You don't just sit in alts forever, right? When Bitcoin has a lot of momentum, you buy alts, right, and then you sell them, and sitting in alts is the main issue that people have had. Paragon WAP wheel. There's no way we have some sort of spin wheel that I don't know about. If that's a real thing, Lucifer, that's fucking hilarious. But I don't think that's real. Nice try. Alt season soon? No shot, bro. No shot that a breakdown in BTC dominance is gonna just lead us to alt season. Ready for the boomer lesson? If you want an alt season, you need this, right? This is the only way you will ever get alt season is when Bitcoin does these kind of things, right? You need Bitcoin to leg up. When Bitcoin legs up from 20K to 150, that is when you're going to have an alt season. And that's the only time you're going to ever have alt seasons, ever again. I don't think, so it's crazy. I can't even show you the fucking example on the chart. I got to go to a Coinbase chart really quickly. This was probably the best like alt season period. It's kind of funny because this contradicts what I just said, but this, you know, because Bitcoin was going down here, but this was probably like the best altcoin period that we ever had that I can remember. Like ETH went up a lot, like a lot of alts went up, but that alt season that we had way long ago, right? Everyone is just patiently waiting for this, and that's why nobody makes money anymore, because if you just wait for something that's never going to come, right? This market moved on from that so long ago. All right, I'm going to blast through the chat and then get started on the rest of my outlook on Bitcoin here in a minute. What about others? BTC seems like there's a big difference. I don't really care to pay attention to that stuff too much, guys. Short from 88K. Thanks for the cookbook, no problem. Chester, no problem, brother. What do you think about Take-Two Interactive stock? What do you mean, Simple? What do you think about Take-Two Interactive stock? Is that a platform? Re-ask that question, brother. Lots of the same indicators, blah, 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 appeared at the bottom. Okay, yeah, I mean, to each their own. I don't try to overwhelm myself with an abundance of indicators and tools. Send you a screen. All right, send me a screenshot of it. Okay. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, I genuinely didn't know that was a thing until you guys told me about that, so there you go. Okay. All right, guys. Let's get into a little bit of Bitcoin Yap and then see where things go for us. Okay, so first and foremost on the Bitcoin Yap, I still have the same thesis that that risk is not dead. I think that you're going to see stock indexes, you're going to see metal, and you're going to see Bitcoin go higher. I do have a plan, you know, for what it's going to look like if things turn for the worse for me. This has been full disclosure, guys. I've been super honest about this in the Paragon. I'll be honest in the public realm as well, because I'm always, you know, honesty first. This is the worst drawdown that I've had on my port in a long time. Every time throughout this whole trend that Bitcoin has gone down, except for the bank scare, I think was the only other time where I got shook during this whole trend. I just didn't hedge this. I was super burnt out at this point. I was kind of on vacation for a lot of this stuff as well too. So I was really complacent, and I did fuck this one up, right? For my Bitcoin, which was and probably still is my largest, investment. To let that draw down 30% in a month, it was a mistake, no doubt, right? So the lesson here is, though, there's a huge difference between thesis invalidation and positional invalidation. I should have defended my position because the risk was invalidated a long time ago, but the thesis is not, right? I think the thesis is still intact. I think that we're going to trade up from here. And so these are the rough plans, right? We've clearly made a local low at 80K. We are now fighting to reclaim this range. If we can see the reclaim over, it doesn't matter. You want to call it 88, you want to call it 89, you want to call it 90K, whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. If this reclaim is successful, basic auction market theory tells us you should see a quick move from 90 all the way into the direction of like 110. If you re-accept the range, I think that you'll get momentum. As it stands, I think that before the range reclaim happens, that you're more likely to just cycle around here and kind of build out a range right where you're at. So call it range high 88K, range low is probably something like 82 or 83. So I do think that you'll probably see something like this doodle right here, right, where you're probably going to come and test the lows. What day is today? Tuesday. So you have plenty of time to test the lows this week. Maybe it comes next week. Who knows? From there, it's going to be a determination of, what do the flows look like? And there can we get some real aggressive selling into like 85, 84K, something like that going into the later days in this week. That could be a great trigger for you to send along. If you lose 82K, it means that we're going to trade down to 72. But these are the core plans, right? You have a lot of really strong resistance. I can highlight this in more detail on medium time frame, but enormous amount of resistance. From probably like 100K up to 115. It's going to be really hard for bulls to get through that. But I do have confidence that eventually that we're going to go through. They're going to get through that. I don't think that Bitcoin is about to go into some multi-year bear market. I don't think that multi-year bear markets are something that you should really be planning around or expecting, right? Like, the only last bear market was 1 year long. I think that's more or less what the on par, the status quo moving forward is. I'll check chat here in a second because I can see with my right eye a bunch of shit's coming in. I'm just going to run through the view ops really quickly. So the view op argument on the yearly is going to be basically the same thing. This is the point where you're either going to get the trend is going to reignite itself and can see continuation, or we're going to see a failure point, right? I don't think that you just see us go down in one line from here. So from here, you basically are expecting either a dead cat or trend continuation. Where exactly, this chart would obviously say you're going to go to 100K, which to me means that, if you're bearish, you're going to front run 100K and bottom, top out at 92 or something like that and then go down, or you're going to, trade closer to 100K and then blast through it and then see that kind of range reclaim setup like I was just talking about. So however the next couple weeks play out will be really important. If we continue to be weak, if Bitcoin continues to be, just show no life, then I'm going to probably rebalance my port. Starting point is a hedge. From there, maybe I sell some of my Bitcoin and move it over into the NASDAQ, for example. That's been one of my main plans going forward. So, the thesis is not invalidated, but the risk argument isn't necessarily that solid until I see a more promising sign. So let me pause. I'll check chat really quickly, and then we'll see where we're going next. Of course, the spin wheel is rigged, man. It's like a carnival game. Has a carnival game ever not been rigged in the entire existence of mankind? You know what I mean? I didn't even know it was a thing until you asked that. Do you apply your VWAP order flow concept to individual stocks? I will be doing that 100%, right? So obviously it's going to have to be a slightly different strategy because I cannot, I can't base my stuff around open interest and liquidations like I have for years. So it'll be more of You know, it'll be more of a VWAP and delta, you know, a relative volume kind of argument. You know, a lot of selling into a VWAP that's sloped upwards. I'm going to buy it, right? It's going to be the same logic. It's just going to have less, it'll have less clarity compared to my Bitcoin trades. How would you scalp Bitcoin today, sir? You don't, in the future, you don't need to copy paste it twice, brother. I'm not going to talk about intraday just yet because I'm not at that point in my stream yet, but these were my trade plans for today. So how would I trade Bitcoin? I would trade it bearish choppily right now, right? Like, you know, I'm down for some reversion longs here and there, but my main focus would be trading to this probably to the downside, because I think that 88K is going to be really strong resistance right now, and I think that you're going to see Bitcoin rotate down in the direction of 80. At the very least, we probably trade down to 84K, and then that could be a really important zone to pay attention to. So there you go, brother. VWAP is sloping downwards ever so slightly, so you want to favor shorts in this setup, 100%. If you want to actually learn my intraday systems like through and through, watch all the videos, see every little piece of how I make my decisions, you should join the Paragon group. What up, Livin'? Will there be a Paragon Black Friday stream? I haven't decided yet if I'm going to stream this week in Para. I want to, but I might not because of family obligations. I'm waiting for my aunt to tell me what we're doing on Thursday, and then I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. If I don't stream in the Paragon on Friday, I'll make it up for you guys next week. Only trading 3 days this week? Yeah, pretty much, man. I'm not going. I traded a little bit this morning. I traded unsuccessfully yesterday. I missed my 2 good setups, and then I took a shitty setup because I missed my 2 core setups. I don't understand how somebody could be a dad and be a good trader or whatnot, because honestly, my dog fucked me up so big yesterday. He like broke some glassware in the other room. I had to run in and fucking clean it up, and I missed my trade because of it. His dumbass had the zoomies. He ran into a fucking table and knocked a piece of glass off the... and I cut my hand and stuff cleaning it up too. I was pissed at him. Okay, do you think yearly open has any significance as a level? I don't even know what the fucking yearly open is. Let's see. Yearly open is going to be like, what, 96K? I mean, the yearly open itself doesn't necessarily matter to me. I don't care about open and close levels like that ever. Never really paid any attention to that. But 100% that, like, you know, 100K is very strong resistance. There's a lot of resistance in that region. So yeah, 96K is significant, 100%. I just don't look at it as the open or close of the year is not why I care about it. I care about it for a different reason. Same conclusion. When moon, 100%. You guys are asking the best fucking questions. Men today, I think you need to have a different perspective about how you think about these kind of things, man. It just is what it is. That should be a lot of your guys' takeaways from these things should just be it just is what it is. I don't have control over the fact that they made 75 billion altcoins over the past couple years, so now every altcoin is piss and shit. Take-Two Interactive or 2 is connected with Rockstar. I believe it will somehow publish GTA 5 and somehow reconnect. And all right. Interesting. Switch to long only or swing only when you got kids, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Or actually have a wife that takes care of things for me. But yeah, I mean, yeah, normally my dog doesn't fuck me up that much with my trading. I've got him trained up to where he's normally pretty chill. But yeah, yesterday I missed both of my fucking good setups because of him. $92.5 actually. Is that true? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I eyeballed it very, very wrong. More or less the same argument, though. I mean, earlier I specifically said 92K was the area where I expect that bulls will really struggle, right? So local resistance is 88K, and that's going to be the range. So if this is the range that we're going to build, that I roughly expect, eventually you're going to impulse outside of the range before you re-enter it, and I really think that 92K is one of the prime areas where you should expect impulses outside of the range to get over the next like week or two. All right. What's up, guys? What's up? On my last brain cell. Me too, brother. Me too. You gotta preserve your brain cells at all costs, my friends. I'm gonna talk about this here later, once the real ones only remain. It is what it is at the end of the day. It's the end of the day. You're a fucking legend for that one. I'm gonna start saying that from now on. At the end of the day, it is what it is, because it's the end of the day. It's a weird question to ask, man. I think it's a cultural thing, but I don't know why people go around and ask people how much money they have. The lesson example in my life that sticks out to me the most was back in late 2019 or early 2020 when I still had a job and before I was getting ready to quit. One time my boss walked up to me and asked me how many Bitcoin I had. And I just like looked at him frozen. Like, did he really just ask me that? And then I just said enough. And it's just really, it's wild how people ask, like, how much money is in your brokerage account right now, right? It's just it's a weird thing to ask. Bottom of the range, 84.5. I missed it. Roughly speaking, I think that, yes. So look, guys. I think 84.5 is a very important zone right now. I think from a lower time frame standpoint, this is a very, very important zone to look at. But from a medium term standpoint, I think that there's a really high likelihood that you're going to... So look, right? This is one of the key zones I'm looking at. But I really do think that if we're going to... Look, these are the ways that it plays out. Either we do what I just said, where we develop a range here, which means we're going to attack these lows. Or you're going to just see us grind back up and reclaim, start doing these reclaims. Because for the first time in a while, there was a lot of spot buying that came in yesterday. Noticeably a lot of spot buying. So I think that we will probably attack the lows. That makes the most sense to me. However, if we just grind up and start doing the reclaims, I'm going to be happy with that as well. What up, Mag? What up, Enchanted? They don't want to take advice from somebody who's broke. Having money gives you... okay, that's fair, I guess. I totally get that, right? I don't want to take advice from somebody telling me how to manage my portfolio that has $3 in their port, right? So I get that. That's fair. I just don't want to... I don't ever want to come on these things and like flex and brag about money. Perspective around money is really important, and you know, like this last weekend, I spent a bunch of time with one half of my family. We did Thanksgiving early on that side, and I hear them talk about money, and I just stay really quiet, and it just always gives me that perspective, and makes me appreciate everything because motherfuckers out here are struggling. Do you want it to compare? You don't want to compare versus me, bro. It's gonna make you feel bad. If I get exiled, I get exiled if I ask the net worth question in German. People think I got way more Bitcoin than I actually do, LOL. Yeah, that's fair, right? Perspective, right? Yeah, it's all about perspective. I should have, so look, guys, here's what I would say about that kind of conversation. I fumbled a lot of my corns in the earlier days, right? Like, I made a lot of mistakes. And, I mean, there was periods where I had way less money than I do now, but I had more Bitcoin in the past at certain points, right? So there's been a lot of fumbled moves and mistakes and stuff with that. The past couple of years, though, are one of the first periods where I've really started to... I think, like, 2021 on, I started to really make up for that, right? So in some of these like 2018, 2017 days, I was a moron. I just pissed Bitcoin away trying to trade. One day in 2018, I lost 8.2 Bitcoin in one day. I look back at that now and go, holy fuck, it's $800,000 that I lost in one day, right? And at the moment, it was like, 30K back then or whatever. But yeah, I don't know where I was going at with that train of thought. We all should have more Bitcoin than we do, but you can always make up for it like after you stop being a moron and start getting your shit together, you can, accumulate your Bitcoin back after you lost them all. Money buys respect. I struggle with that a lot because having money doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't make you smart. It doesn't make you any of the traits that we should concern ourselves with. But it's 100,000,000% true that if you have money, people just treat you better. I have had that experience so many times over. Most of the time, if you see me on the street, you're just going to think, you might think I'm fucking poor or homeless even sometimes, right? But every now and then when I interact with people that like, I either wear one of my watches or something like that, and then it's just crazy how people treat you, right? They see a $20,000 watch and they treat you like you're special when I'm just a person just like anybody else. It's very, very strange. I think people's priorities and people's values are pretty dumb most of the time, but it is what it is. Okay, let me roll through the chat, and then I'm going to get back to some analysis here very soon. Binance sold some spot today, I think, too. I haven't really been paying attention, but you know what? Let's look at it real quick. Let's see what's going on. So yeah. I mean, they've definitely been selling some for sure. But yesterday, when we were excuse me, when we were grinding up yesterday, it was clearly spot led. I mean, I could show it to you right here, right? Okay. It's corny to be flexing how successful you are. Look, guys, I think when you're newer to this stuff, you'll probably want to flex, and that's totally fine. It could be, get that dopamine hit from the work you put in. I'm not opposed to that, right? If you want to come and be like, yo, I said my best trade ever, I just made 50 bands. Like, you send that to me, and I'm going to say, good job, bro. I'm fucking proud of you or whatnot, right? But as time goes on, you're going to move away from that direction, right? And I think the best thing I could say is that whenever you do something in life, you should ask, am I getting something out of this, right? And if you go and flex on people, what are you getting out of it? If you are getting favorable treatment, right? You're getting preferential treatment, right? You're getting treated with respect. If that's the case, then maybe it makes sense to flex. But in most instances, I don't think you're going to get what you want out of it. The people that are going to compliment you are not going to be the people you want to. It's going to be the people you don't care about. It's never the people you want to. And I mean, I heard this from an old guy one time, right? If somebody asks you how much money you have, you should do what I just said earlier, where you kind of just say enough and don't answer the question. Because in a simple way, if they have more than you, they're going to think less of you. And if you have more than them, then they're going to be envious and jealous, right? There aren't really any... There's no, like... Unless it's like your boy, I've been friends with this guy for 25 years, I can flex on him and he's going to just cheerlead for me because he's actually my friend. If you say that to somebody on the street, though, they're not going to have that kind of reaction. It's going to be negative, right? So TLDR is flexing generally leads to more negative outcomes in my experience. So I don't do it anymore. If I ever did it, it would be anonymous on CT. To just get more followers, right? Like, if you ever see me flexing in the future on Twitter, it's just because I want more engagement, honestly. I want to feel something. Do you trade correlations? No. I mean, in the most retarded, simplistic way, that most large cap cryptos are going to be loosely correlated to Bitcoin. It's not going to be a 1 correlation. It's not going to be a negative either, right? It's going to be probably 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, you know, for correlation. So yes, in that regard, I trade correlations because all my altcoin plans are, you know, all my big picture altcoin plans are based around Bitcoin. Do I trade correlations in the traditional TradFi sense? No. No, I do not. 0.1 Bitcoin and rich trading order flow, buddy. It's a classic. What would your day look like if you weren't involved in trading or crypto? Lucifer's asking the real questions. Huh. What would I say to that? If I wasn't trading, I probably would have a dog shit, you know, I'd probably have a dog shit corporate job selling, doing like wholesale shit to people. That's what I did before I became a trader. Is I had a corporate job doing wholesale, selling to, selling machines and shit to contractors. I would probably be doing that kind of gay shit, to be honest. And I'm so beyond thankful that I get to do what I want to every day. To answer Lucifer's question, what would I be doing if I didn't need money and I wasn't trading? I probably would be trying to be like a pro gamer, which is super lame to say, but I probably would be trying to do that, to be honest, because that was one of the alternative routes. I'm really happy I didn't take that route. I'd be poor and you know, brain dead if I went that route, but that's something I wish I was a little bit younger, and then I could have maybe taken gaming more seriously. Usually I have good setups, but my psychology always makes me fuck up. That's, I mean, a very important conversation to have, guys. Look, psychology, discipline, self-control, willpower. These are the things that are going to make somebody successful as a discretionary trader. It doesn't matter whether you have the coolest order flow nerd system of all time or if you just trade fucking moving averages, right? The system is not what matters. It's the person. I absolutely fuck trades up. And, you know, yesterday is a perfect example. Yesterday, my plan was to take this short and to take this long. And I missed both of them because of my dog. And instead, what did I do is I think I shorted here and then closed it here, right? I think I might have closed it earlier. But I took like a partial loss. It was like a 0.5R loss. And the only reason why I took this trade at all, even though I knew it was a worse trade, it was because I was pissed that I missed the 2 trades that I should have taken, right? These were my free money, fall right into the system. These were A+ setups. I should have taken them. And I missed them because I was not at my screen, even though I had them pre-planned. So I took a shitty trade later in the day. How many of you have done exactly that? Every single one of you has done that in some version or another. So that's why so many of my threads and so many of my streams are always about the mental stuff, guys, because that's 95% of the game. How do you handle when things are going your way? How do you handle when things are not going your way? These are the things that are gonna actually have an influence on the outcome of the of your situation long term. So that's why you need to control your brain rot and keep your fucking brain working. I think that as time goes on, the average person's ability to critically think is going to decline. I don't say that because I want to be a pessimist. I say that because that's the objective reality in front of us. If you can keep your brain working, that will be an edge for you, right? It's going to be easy to be smarter than the average person in 10 years because the average person's not going to be able to fucking hold their attention together for more than 10 seconds, right? The flip side to this is that it's going to obviously crush society. So I really think like you need to actively be trying to control your brain rot and stuff. I know it's really difficult because it's so easy to just start doom scrolling. It's so easy to start going through shorts or whatever on YouTube, but you need to try not to do that. Mark my words. I think that a lot of the social media stuff that we're getting nowadays shoved down our throats is going to be viewed at and even like maybe regulated in the same way that drugs are. See, the viewers dropped off when I started that yap. Nobody ever wants to learn about the things that actually matter, and that's why 99% of people fail, because when I start talking about willpower and psychology and making yourself do the uncomfortable things, your guys' brains turn off for the most part, because nobody wants to do the uncomfortable things. Everyone wants the result without the work. And I'm here to tell you today that the work is what gives you the result. All right. Rolling through chat. Sorry, Nelly, that slipped out. That's my bad. 10 seconds on agar, by the way. Yeah, so I run 10 seconds on my agar histogram because it basically gives me a tick chart. That's the logic. I think people that you don't know treat you better, but your close ones don't. Matter priorities. That's a good point, Livid. So if you flex your money, right, you're gonna be treated the way you want to by some random fucking person in a restaurant is gonna come over and be polite to you or whatnot, right? But that doesn't matter because you don't care about that person, right? It's your dad, your mom, your brother, or your cousin. Like, those kind of things can get really weird and awkward with those people. So it's just better to just shut the fuck up, just do your thing, and just be quiet, you know? You're not gonna gain anything out of flexing on your cousin. If you're a good person, you're just gonna end up feeling like a piece of shit afterwards. Like, if I flexed on my cousin, I would feel embarrassed afterwards, you know? Thanks, man. I do really appreciate that. Take everything I always say with a grain of salt. I'm just a fucking person. I think, like, I'm not gonna claim to be wise, because if you claim to be wise, you're probably not. Unironically, I will claim to be humble, which I know contradicts the core principle of being humble, but I don't have a big ego, guys. I've had my moments of where I'm a hero, and I've had my moments where I'm a zero. And markets are that perpetual ebb and flow between hero and zero, and you go through your zero moments, and it becomes easy to not have an ego after that, you know? I think being humble in markets is an edge. It's like when you go to the gym, getting ripped will get you, yeah, it's only dudes that compliment your muscles. It's the exact same thing, right? You work hard, you get jacked, a girl's barely gonna notice, and you're gonna get lots of compliments from your boys that are like, damn, homie's fucking shredded over here. What fucking supplements are you taking, bro? Like, that kind of conversation, right? It's never who you care about. So it's the same thing with money. If you want, like, look, guys, I'm going way too personal with this, but if there was anybody ever in my life that I wanted to impress with my achievements, it'd be my dad. And he doesn't give a fuck, right? Like, it's just funny how you see what I'm saying, right? Like, the people that praise me for my achievements are people that it doesn't matter to me, if I'm being super honest, right? And the one or two people that you actually care about impressing, they're never gonna care. All right, let me move forward. Bro's talking about how to deal with people when you have a lot of money while 99% of chat can barely afford a Whopper once a week. Buddy, Burger King has those like 4 for $4 deals or whatever. They're pretty good. Or maybe it's 2 for $4. Thoughts on Monad saving the market? I think that's a dying wish, brother. They gave me a piss airdrop, so fuck those guys. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know anything about their project, to be honest. I know some of the people that represent their brand, like Tunes and Intern. Interns, it seems like a good dude, but I don't know. Don't know, brother. I think my main focus with Monad right now is that it's probably going to be a really good coin to trade over the next coming weeks, because it's going to have a lot of trade activity, right? If there's other people clicking buttons on those perps, then they're going to be good to trade. So I'll probably intraday trade it at some point, but that's the max that I've got to contribute to that. Not that kind of correlation, rather SPX and BTC. Yeah, so more on that. I do like respect the idea that if I think the SPX is going to trade down, I'm probably not bullish on Bitcoin, right? So there you go. I mean, I don't trade the correlations in the traditional sense at all. Not the way that some TradFi guy would word it, but I trade like crypto version of correlations, which is more of a fugazi, if we're being honest. Just keep showing up, man. Keep clicking. Men today, just keep showing up. Keep clicking buttons. That's all you can really do. You trade all sessions? Pretty much negative on that one, right? I mostly just trade New York session because it's the best session to trade these days. Back in the day, I would change my sleep schedule around trading what sessions were good. So there's been periods where New York is the worst session to trade for extended periods of, months and months and months, and the only good session is Asia. I don't remember if this was in 2020 or in 2021. I think it was 2020. Somebody could maybe correct me if you're a nerd enough to know this. But I had like a nocturnal life where I would trade from like 3 in the afternoon till like 10 o'clock at night my time. And then I would sleep in the morning, which was New York session. But generally speaking, I just trade New York right now. Let me read the rest of your question. Or do you just pick a couple? How would you advise most of us go about trading sessions? So when you want to determine what session you want to trade, you're thinking about what's the most opportunistic session, right? And clearly, New York is giving the most volatility right now. That's been the meta for a long time. There's been some good moves during the Asia sessions recently, where like, you're getting things like this. Maybe you're getting the start of a trend on the Asia session, right? I mean, there has been moves off Asia. But like this one, or no, that's not I thought this was the open for some reason. So, I mean, most Asia sessions are pretty boring. But you need to operate with what you've got. So if you can only trade the London session, I only have 3 hours a day to trade. I can only trade London. Then just trade it because that's all you have. But if you have the ability to trade, to pick and choose, then you pick and choose. How long did it take you to get successful? I see most proper traders have set the bar to 3 years. I would say even longer than 3 years, I reached a level of profitability in my trading early because of luck, right? Because of just right time, right place. I don't attribute it to skill in the early days. I really attribute it to just luck, right time, right place. I think that it's going to be different for all of us, depending on how hard you work and how fast you learn. But you want to be realistic, and your timeline to reach true profitability as a trader is going to be much longer than anybody's going to tell you, right? When these guys come on CT and they say, yeah, I reached profitability in 6 months, I reached it in a year, bullshit. I mean, I did that too, right? But I'm mature enough to understand that it was fucking luck, right? I just right time, right place. I reached true profitability with my trading probably like 5-6 years into it. I mean, I'm on my 10th. I'm going to be on my 11th year now pretty soon, for the record. So don't think you're going to find success in a year. It maybe if you find success early on, it's just the classic Dunning-Kruger where you start off hot. I know nothing and I know a lot, right? At the beginning, when I know nothing and I have a level of success, I think I know everything, and then eventually I learn that I know nothing. It's the Dunning-Kruger kind of arc. So always make sure that when you're in the early stages of your career, you understand that it's possible that you have success before you know anything. That's actually very common for people to win before they know things, and then as you go through, you realize how dumb you are and you lose all your money. Why would you short those moves in the first place? Would be cool if you could explain. I don't know what we're talking about, as I've been covering so many topics. Maybe you're talking about intraday. Intraday, I'm trying to take short moves where I identify people making mistakes. I go off of the really simple context around what's the profile look like, what's the VWAP look like, what's the overall local trend look like, and I just bet accordingly. I'm trying to make a quick buck. I'm trying to make money really quickly, have it take 15 minutes, and then I'm done. I'm not trying to sit around and watch these trades all day. So if you're maybe talking about this, like, why would I want to short here? It's because like I'm bearish, in the medium and short term, right? Like I'm pretty confident that Bitcoin's going to trade lower. you know, I'm not getting any. I don't think I have any clear. Okay, there's one entry trigger of this long opening into the WAP. I mean that's pretty much. There wasn't any really good entry triggers on this one. If I was not streaming, I probably would be short right now though. Who knows, right? I'm not actually reading the tape. I'm not watching the flow. I'm not locked in at all. But I probably would be short on this, honestly. And this thing probably goes down to 85 next. So I base all my trades off of context and, you know, logic. And then find reasons to take the bets or not. What do you do to avoid the brain rot? So I think I have the tweet right here. So it's different for everybody. For me, the thing that helps me the most is just being in the moment doing these kind of things, right? So I wake up. First thing in the morning I do, and I've been doing this ever since I got back from my vacation. I've stuck with it. I've only missed 2 days since I started this. I wake up and I run. I don't wake up and start scrolling through my phone for the first hour, laying in bed. I'm scrolling through my phone. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Maybe I should get up now. I wake up early and I get out of bed and I go on my run. Then I go through my work stage, which is where I'm at now. A couple hours, I'll be done working and I'll work out. If the weather's nice outside, I'm going to take my pup on an adventure. He's going to hit his 1-year birthday here very soon. And then later in the day, I normally relax before I do social stuff. I have the ultimate luxury of just infinite time in my day. I can do whatever I want, and I don't take that for granted one bit. But, yeah, I mean, these are probably the answers, right? Spend time doing physical stuff. Spend time doing social stuff, and control yourself, right? When you click on Twitter and you're on a video and your temptation is to scroll down and move to the next video, stop and catch yourself in those moments. When you're sitting on your couch later today and you are watching a TV show and your hand just flies across the couch and grabs your phone and starts scrolling, and you wake up and realize, oh fuck, I'm on Twitter all of a sudden, start recognizing those moments. I read this paper a long time ago about how the impulsive, like how all of us are getting programmed to pick up our phones without even realizing it. It scared the shit out of me when I read it because I started seeing it in myself. All day long, I'm grabbing my phone and I'm already on a social media app before I even realize what I'm doing. It's because I've been, programmed to do so. So step one is just having a level of observation with these kind of things. What is broadening your brain, and what can you do about it? So there you go. I think brain rot's a really important conversation to consider because I strongly believe like the people that keep their brains working over the next decade are going to be just light years ahead of everybody else that, the kids growing up without proper guidance from their parents won't even have a fucking shot, right? It's only the, 20, 30-year-old, 40-year-olds, right? You're old enough to make these decisions yourself now, have a shot to fight this. If you're like a 6-year-old kid and your parents don't make this a thing that matters, like these 6-year-old kids will have zero shot at becoming adults and having brains that function the way they're supposed to. Past learning, trading systems, psychology app is what I like from you. That's what I hope to hear, Nelly, is that I want people to learn the mental stuff because this is what matters the most. And regardless of whether you ultimately end up having success as a trader, because some of us won't, guys, let's be honest, the mental battle that you're going to endure with trading is going to make you a better person, right? You're going to be much more wise and emotionally intelligent because of the personal battles that you go through with your trading. So look at it glass half full. I wouldn't come on here and say learn to trade if I didn't think it was possible, but also understanding that making money isn't the only thing that you can achieve from this stuff. Austria and other places are starting to ban socials under 16. That's cool if that's the case. Hey, have we done any analysis yet? Nope. Yeah, I mean, I covered my Bitcoin plans I covered my high time frame Bitcoin plans. Could probably move over to medium time frame here pretty soon, but honestly, the boys are yapping. Even though I'm horrible at the market at the moment, that yap about brain rot made me feel good about myself. That's great, brother. I mean, there you go. The beauty of the brain rot and keeping, staying ahead of people with that conversation is if you just have a little bit of willpower, you're going to beat everybody else out. Because most people won't have the willpower to say no and to turn it off. You contradicted both. Honestly, bro, I don't even know what I'm saying most of the time on these streams, so I don't even know what topic you could be referring to, but yep, there you go. When it's a breakout, you already into the trade from the bottom. Not really sure what your question is, but I'm going to answer it anyways. I've had the framework for breakouts for a long time, right? Breakout to the upside, breakout to the downside. Traditional breakout trading tells you if you want to long a breakout, you buy the range high and pray it goes higher. If you want to short a breakdown, you short the range low and pray it goes down lower. But I developed my version of this a long time ago. I take this type of trade 1 out of every 500 trades is one of these, right? I basically never take these kind of breakout trades. If you have a range and I want to take a breakout long, instead of being an impulsive moron who buys here and then deals with the high probability chance of getting mean reverted on, you buy here and you take it this way. The only pro of this type of trade is that it's going to be a shorter lived invalidation. If I take this breakout long or breakout short and I'm wrong, I'm going to know quickly. Versus this version of it where I'm going to have to eat a lot more chop. But the expected value on this is just 10 times better across the board. So this is how I have taken breakout trades throughout my whole career. And this is what I would chill you guys on. Stop being the person that breakout trades the range high or the range low. Because in crypto, at least, it's a very, very foolish approach in my opinion. The EV is just dog shit. In stocks, maybe not the case. Lucifer, if you were my father, that would make a lot of sense. Because you're pretty retarded. Alright, I'm trying to get through the chat. The boys are yapping. Oh, the short. Yeah, I mean, so I basically just covered it anyways, right? I covered the... It's the same logic, the short that I missed yesterday versus the short that I should be in right now that I'm not because I'm streaming. If you guys want to learn my actual trading style, just join Paragon, guys. Discount still available? Yes, it is. Give me 3 seconds. It's in the chat. Not going to last forever. You got a maximum of a week left on that. I feel like it feels purposeless. What feels purposeless? Trading? Trying to fight brain rot? What feels purposeless? I guess saw you catch a few wins on CS last night while I was playing Arc Raiders. Should have never added any of the boys on Steam. Now you guys can see that I play Counter-Strike every day. I think we went 2-1 yesterday. 1 win, 2 wins, 1 loss. But our loss for sure could have been a win. My duo just got tilted and was just running it down and buying fucking dog shit guns. People who actually parent their kids are going to have a colossal advantage. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why that's such a thing where all these kids have, being raised by their iPads and stuff. That's a modern tragedy, no doubt. How to read the tape? It's kind of a generic question, brother. I don't think that tape reading is really a good strategy for reading flows for you guys most of the time. I think that you're going to have a lot more success with the delta histogram because it's just easier. It's going to actually permanently record the information instead of you requiring you being Rain Man and interpreting it in real time. Tape reading is just reading, reading the market orders that hit the book and trying to gauge if there's a lot of effort being put forth or not. If the buyers are coming in and they're moving price a lot, then their effort's getting rewarded. If buyers are coming in and they're not moving price, then they're not getting rewarded. And that gives you a context clue about how you should bet. But I really don't think tape reading is the best approach. I think that you got to be truly autistic to pull off the tape reading stuff in crypto because of the fractionalized flow. Okay, guys. A little bit of Bitcoin yap on medium time frame. So this is more or less what my medium time frame plans were. I kind of already discussed this, but we'll just touch base on it really quickly anyways. We had a really good bounce from 80K, and we traded back into the 7-day rolling. So right now, I think until you start to see the 7-day rolling actually turn into support, which you should not expect to happen, I think that you're going to probably trade lower. So this is, this is what you're working with right now. Your most bullish scenario is just trading back down into the direction of like 84, 83K, and then bouncing and then continuing to build out a range here. Because what you're ultimately looking for, if you want to be bullish, is you're looking for a momentum loss structure where we're going to round out and start to go back up again. From there, you kind of bet on dead cat balances or continuation, blah, blah. We already talked about any of that. Until you see one of these kind of things develop, as long as you see it looking like this, I mean, look at how it's literally the exact same thing, right? Until you see the bottom get developed on this thing and start to round out, you should expect the trend to continue to go down, right? That's what's in front of you. I don't have a whole lot else to say on medium time frame. I don't think I have any notes or anything. I'm down to maybe look at some charts here and there. If there's any coins that you think are really worth looking at, throw it in the chat. I might ignore it. I'm going to leave that up to my discretion. But yeah, overall, let's see. I think this is one of the core resistance kind of arguments, right? 110 to 105 is going to be your end-all be-all resistance. I think that this is going to be incredibly difficult for bulls to get over 105. Realistically, bulls are actually going to probably fail below that, where they're probably going to fail into this region, is probably what I was thinking. So earlier I said 92, maybe makes it to 95 or whatnot. And that's going to be one of your kind of key zones. So I think if I had to just predict some shit, reject, make the low, and then kind of trade up higher. And then from there, it's going to be an argument of does this lead to continuation or is this a dead cat, right? Is it just one of these kind of bonk scenarios? That's more or less where I'm at. If we trade down into 82K and we get a really weak bounce from it and we do something like this where we kind of triangle meme our way down, if you see the highs getting rejected and you're kind of hitting these lows over and over again, that's not good, right? That would be taking us down in the direction of like 72K. So how the structure develops is really important. I want to see the spot bid actually start to come in today. Thus far today, there's been very little spot bidding. So we want to see like on Wednesday, and Thursday, some spot bidding come in. With it being Thanksgiving, it makes me think that today or this week is probably going to be a eventful week. You shouldn't expect a whole bunch of volatility and volume going to come in on Thursday. Chart monad, we can do that. What's the longest chart history we've got, boys? Bybit's got some history. Okay, look, guys. So, I feel like I'm a crazy person. I look at this. I mean, it doesn't matter what ticker we look at, right? Like, new listing coins, like... I mean, yeah, I changed the time frame. I guess that's valid. But still, it doesn't really change anything for me, right? Like, there is no charting to be done on these new coins, you know what I mean? Look, a new coin, your hope is that it reminds you of Aptos, I bet. Yeah, it's because every new coin ever follows the same pattern. They get sold into oblivion because there's all these people that bought this shit for fucking, you know, -3 pennies is what their average entry is. So of course they want to dump it at 4 cents or whatever, or 30 cents or whatever, right? They're gonna dump the fuck out of this thing. Eventually, though, when these projects are illegitimate, a good example would be like Dimension. I don't know anything about that thing, but we'll go look at the chart. It's down only, right? Either the coin just goes down only forever while people continuously dump their coin and realize their gains from being early to it, or it eventually rounds out, loses downside momentum, and then goes up, right? I almost feel like a meme even showing it to you now because you knew what I was going to show you, right? But this is the core example that we've used for years. I don't know where the fuck I had some really good doodles on this chart back in the day. I don't know where they went, but right, down only, round out, up only, right? And then that's it. After any coin goes down, makes the bottom, and then goes up, it should be, you never want to really fuck with it again, right? Unless this is your 1 in 10,000 coins and this is hyper liquid and you say, okay, it's a legitimate coin, I'm gonna, you know, trade it forever, whatever, right? 99.9% of coins, they go down, they round out, they go up, and then you should remove it from your watch list, right? Yes, Aptos gave more trades, but look, Aptos is never gonna like go up, right? It's like, this is the trajectory of this coin is down. It does the scam pumps and then that's it. So you look at Monad, I'm not trying to shit on them or anything, but that's your most optimistic play, is that it rounds out eventually and it goes up a fuck ton and then you never play with it again. Caspa. That's a dot coin right there. I've never traded this coin before, but we can look at it. Ooh, fuck. Yeah, there you go. I mean, this is a pisser for sure, right? I don't care about it. I mean, I can turn on the WAPs. And, you know, it's not going to change anything, though. It's a dog. It's a dog coin, right? From, you know, 2023 on, fantastic coin, right? But ever since trend structure broke, you know, if you're taking this coin and you want to short it, you know, and if you're really good at being a bear and you want to short this coin, then that's fine. This is no longer a long coin, right? I would never buy or you know, yeah, try to trade to the long side a coin that is in a downtrend. And this is the same, you know, with, I can pick any coin on the list, right? Even good coins, like, you know, Aves, I would argue is a good coin, right? You know, all these, they're just gonna, you know, it's crazy. A lot of these don't even look that bad, right? There you go. Finally, a bad looking one. Think about Aster, it'd be like Pepe, but on BNB chain. I don't know how you're arriving at Aster being like Pepe, other than maybe the chart. Jesus. You never buy into these downtrends. The best argument for Aster is that CZ is gonna make it go up. Like, that's your only bull argument for this. So I look at this chart and I say, you need to wait for it to start to look good. Right, you need to start to trend up and then buy the pullbacks, right? If you're buying into the downtrend, you're just going to bleed forever. Ignore this thing until it starts to round out and be disciplined enough to wait. And if you can wait, then this could be a great trade. It wouldn't surprise me if we came back to this thing in 3 months and then this was an insane setup that you could have taken, where you could have just made, you know, 6, 7, 10x, whatever, right? But if you're early to trying to make this play, you're going to eat 50% drawdown before then, right? Maybe even you eat 70% drawdown or something, right? You just got to be patient with this shit. I have a couple of friends that have, you know, I've been shilled on the Aster thesis a few times. The CZ is going to scam it up argument. I get it. But from a execution standpoint, you got to wait. New listed coins are the best for scalping on the 5 and 15 minute time frame, in my opinion. Excuse me. Totally agree. Not on the time frame element of it, but I agree that like newer coins, good for scalping, right? They're going to be more volatile. They're going to have more trade activity, and the spreads are probably not going to be as tight because it's just too risky for market makers to quote tight. So new coins are great for scalping. 5 and 15 minute though is not like that. It's hard for me to define that as a scalping territory, right? Like that's intraday. You're day trading if you're on a 5 minute time frame, right? When I'm scalping, I'm on like a tick chart or on like a 10-second, 5-second chart, you know, very, very low. But it's, I guess, tomato, tomato, potato, potato, I guess. But I'm a bit of a nerd. I like to define intraday and day trade and scalp and all these kind of things properly. So what's the exit price on Monad? Charts aren't clear. I don't know, bro. I don't know. Solana. I think that, you know, it's hard for me to bull post Solana when the structure looks as bad as it does. I think from a value proposition standpoint that buying into like $120 is pretty cheap for this coin. I've eaten a lot of drawdown on the spot Solana that I didn't sell. I did decide to hold on to it, which, you know, some of it, which was a mistake. Sold a lot of it when the Trump stuff kind of happened, and I feel good about that. But I should have sold more aggressively. I think this is a value proposition area to buy. I think that I'm, you know, more and more optimistic on Bitcoin. So if there was, out of all the coins on any of the lists to buy, like Solana is probably one of the ones that is not a terrible buy, right? Maybe ETH, maybe Solana. I mean, these are probably not terrible things to buy. Maybe BNB is worth buying. I could see Hyperliquid being worth buying. Tron is probably worth buying. And that is probably the extent of the worth buying list. Holy fuck, Zcash is cooked. Yeah, so I don't dislike Solana as much as some of the other coins. I think it has found, you know, its place in the market. You know, my thesis post the Trump move is that this is no longer, Solana is never going to be your I just buy it and I get free money coin anymore, right? From, you know, I was very lucky to experience the 2023 to 2024 cycle where Solana was just free money, but I'm very confident that free money's gone on this. I'm on the wrong Aster ticker. This isn't the right ticker? Oops. My bad, my bad. I don't trade this kind of shit that much, guys. That's the takeaway from here. Had the wrong fucking one on my watch list, apparently. Okay, this chart looked a billion times better than what I just looked at. Nice. Okay, I like... So now, why I was getting DMs from my friends saying to buy Aster, now it makes a lot more sense. Okay, your risk invalidation is very, very wide is the only thing. So if you're buying now, your invalidation is way too wide. So you're going to, you know, eat a lot of drawdown before you know you're wrong. This looks great for a potential big booty. Maybe, let's... Is there a spot pair maybe longer? There you go. I don't remember when I drew this, but apparently I drew this. So there you go. That's fucking spot on. I think that you should expect that the downside momentum should be waning on this thing, and that if you get dips down in towards the range lows, so if you get dips in the direction of $1, it's probably a good buy because your invalidation is so tight. If I can buy at $1, I know I'm probably wrong at maybe 90 cents, so I can have... It's still a pretty wide stop, but I mean, the risk to reward makes up for it when, you know, you're trading up 150%. I drew this a couple weeks ago, and I think that it's still pretty valid. Ugly drawing, yes. Valid setup, though. XPL? I mean, there's no point in me even looking at that thing. I made the mistake of trying to buy this thing at 97 cents, and then I just sell it, like, very shortly after. There you go, I drew this. I mean, I drew this a while ago. Do not remember drawing it, but there you go. You're saying Bitcoin is dead because of quantum? Let them all come up with their reasons as to why Bitcoin's dead. One day, I said this years ago, one day it's all going to blow up in my face and I'm going to lose a lot of money because the way that I like have conviction and bet on things, like when things go poorly for me one day, I'm going to lose a lot of money. I know that's the case. I'll preface it that way. But I've traded crypto or traded Bitcoin for a long time now, and I've seen many times where Bitcoin was cooked and it was dead, right? And what we're experiencing today, where people are telling me like the argument for Bitcoin has reached institutionalization, so it's not like a massively powerful bet anymore, valid, right? But people saying that Bitcoin is cooked and it's the experiment is over right now, I mean that's moronic, right? I mean, we've reached the stage where it's now been accepted by the world as a real legitimate asset. So the argument for the exponential growth where I can buy this thing and make 500% in a year, like that argument is probably valid that that's going to fade away. But the idea that the asset itself is going to go away is foolish in my opinion, right? All this doomsday shit that we're seeing, I've seen infinitely worse than whatever the fuck some guy's writing about on Twitter, right? Having made it through the 2018 bear market, having made it through the COVID crash and bear phase, like what we see in front of us it ain't shit, boys. It ain't shit. That's funny, Lucifer. It's funny because it's true, and I don't give a shit. That's been like one of my approaches, right? Is like I'm not trying to pick bottoms and shit with a random shit coin that I don't give a fuck about. That I'm gonna forget it. I'm gonna completely forget about it next week. I want to buy it because it's going up, and then sell it to some other guy 6 minutes later. No problem, Daryl. Have a good one, Nelly. 90 cents is CZ's entry? Really? Is that facts? Is this confirmed? Can I get the quants on this? Can we get some quantitative research? Get some data? If CZ's entry is 90 cents, it means that you are praying for a dip close to $1 that you can buy on this thing. Because... If CZ wants to save his reputation at all and kind of have a return to the power structure that he once had, then he needs to send Aster to $3. Right? That's gonna make him a main character again, is him pulling that off. Alright guys, probably gonna start to wrap the stream up here. How long have we been live? We've been live an hour and 35 minutes. If you guys have any last second questions, now is the time to squeeze it into the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to move on and finish up my workday. Got some stuff I got to do, and then I'm going to go outside and get some sunlight, hit the gym, take my dog to the park, all that good stuff. Live the simple life. I lived this life in front of screens for all these years just so I can go back to the 1900s and live the simple life where it's just me and my dog walking around the neighborhood. No problem, Daryl. Gonna throw this on the screen really quickly, right? While we're closing it out. If you want to consider joining the Paragon, that was definitely the time to do it. Save a buck. And we got the double discounts where you're getting 1 month free plus a discount, or for the 12 months, this is really the crazy one. 3 months free plus 20%. Probably not gonna ever get a better deal than that. But judging by the fact that I don't see any additional questions or yap coming in, we'll probably wrap up the stream there. I've been closing thoughts while I end this up. I've been thinking a lot about how my stream has progressed over the years, and I want to bring it back to more structure. So I don't know exactly what that's going to look like as time goes on. I think that I'm going to be ignoring chat more and trying to come in with more of my own topics so I can stay focused. So like the constant going back and forth between chat and topics and my own stuff makes it difficult to say everything I want to say. If I have intentions of saying I'm looking for this setup and that setup, and then I get distracted by chat and I start answering a question, it becomes difficult for me to come back to that original thought and actually flesh it out properly. So something I'm going to be experimenting with over the next couple of months is kind of reformatting my stream structure a little bit to make things more serious. Especially in Paragon, I want to return to the level of seriousness that we once had back in 2021. So I guess that's it for me, guys. Opinion on MicroStrategy? I couldn't say, brother. Couldn't say. I'll try to squeeze in one last thing just for the homie. Holy fuck. It's getting brutalized, huh? Is this the right one? What's what is their ticker, boys? Oh, that's probably why derp we had. Oh, it is the right ticker. Holy fuck. Okay. Okay, well apparently I said buy the dip at 200. So there you go. Buy the dip at 200. I don't remember when I drew this. I'm actually really surprised how much this got brutalized. Kind of makes sense because Bitcoin has been down so bad. Look, I'm not too worried about DATs blowing up and murdering us. I think that later down the line, that as the DAT situation progresses, that this will probably be the death of us in the future, right? Maybe it's not MicroStrategy is the problem. Maybe it's one of the other DATs. Maybe it is Sailor's strategy that is our problem. Only time will tell. But I think that we will keep the Ponzi running a lot longer than people expect. As far as I'm concerned, on individual stocks, I can't look at this and say I have a concrete edge. You want to do this? You want to do that? My gut tells me that you probably want to be buying this in the not so distant future for it to go back up again. There you go. Don't have a lot to say on this one. I have no concrete edge on individual stocks. Finally, a structure. Damn, bro. Bro's bodying me with that one. I used to be a lot more structured with my streams where I would go through specific topics every week, but it becomes difficult to do when you're trying to interact with people. Also, I don't get anything out of doing these streams too, so like the mental effort that it takes to come in and stay focused and to, cover everything, like I'm trying to expend all my energy for free when I should be applying that energy to my actual trading. Alright, my friends, that's it for me. Good luck out there. I'll see you guys next week. If you're a burger, have a good time with the family for Thanksgiving. I'll probably be AFK Thursday and Friday for all that stuff. But yeah, good luck out there. If you're in the Paragon and you have any questions, don't hesitate to hit me.